Grant. Well, welcome to the show.
Oh shoot!
The TMMShow.
What's that stand for?
We're back online. I'm trying to get more content out there, folks. And I know I haven't gotten more stuff out there. I'm still working on this stupid video, but it's soon gonna come out. And Grant's Corona today, or anti-Corona. We both have not caught the coronavirus, the COVID-19.
Yeah, COVID-19.
Accurately.
Or as Trump would say, the China virus.
The China virus.
The China virus.
So, what's been happening lately is this Chinese virus took over the planet, basically.
Virus that started in China.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, yeah, COVID-19 is just anything else. Like,
Right.
There's been the SARS virus. There's been a bunch of other viruses. I mean, just look at history. The Black Plague took out more people than all the wars combined. That's what I heard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dang.
All the wars combined, it killed more people.
Yeah. Well, they named it pretty generically. They were like the COVID-19. It's what is it? COVID. So it's coronavirus disease 19. So 2019.
Right.
So it's pretty basic. It's like they didn't like come up with a clever name.
It's under the family of cold, right? Like having a cold.
I don't know.
Because it has cold symptoms like runny nose, fever, headaches, like all the annoying things that you got to go through to then feel better, like slowly. But this thing fucking takes people out. They're like, oh, you got pre-existing illnesses?
Yeah, the percentage.
You're done.
The percentage of people that could die from this is a lot higher than the common cold or even the flu, or even the Spanish flu. Like it's like supposedly Spanish flu is like 2%. This is like closer to 4 apparently. That's crazy. So if we don't do a good job of quarantining it, then there could be. That's the ice cream man.
Oh yeah.
That's the ice cream man.
The ice cream guy.
Let's go get ice cream.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I was about to say the exact same thing. Right? He's like, gather around. He's just handing out Corona ice cream.
Free Corona. Here you go.
Terrible.
Shit.
I guess. I mean, you gotta. All right, yeah. Fuck this podcast. Let's go get some ice cream.
Go get some ice cream and shit.
I guess you gotta raise someone's spirits somehow, right?
But this is very interesting because, I mean, if obviously, I'm pretty sure we're gonna survive, and we can speak of this in history. Like, there's been these monumental worldwide events that we can all speak of and, relate in a way. Like 2001, 9/11 in 2001, like we can relate to that. Like at least people that grew up,
We've had some pretty big events in the last 30 years for our lives. Mm-hmm. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and big events also, it's relative because there's been big events in other countries that don't really impact us here in America. But for the most part, the generation that grew up here in America, we can, speak with some relativity about events like those. So people that are growing up right now, they're kids, they're gonna be like, yeah, I was around, but we had to stay in. Well, this one they'll definitely remember, even kids, because remember that one time in 2020 we spent the whole year inside because some virus was going around? Or even worse, dude, even worse, you're like part of a family that had their family member catch the corona and unfortunately passed away. Then you would be immediately impacting, like there's
you remember it very well.
A lot of kids are going to be inspired to become some type of doctor, a medicine doctor, a medicine science or something, because it's not doctors that are curing it, it's the scientists that are taking the virus and finding out how it fucking works and how it spreads and how can you prevent that. It's more about like doctors are just people that do, well, there's different branches of doctors, right?
It's pretty amazing, like all the work that goes into like finding a vaccine or finding a cure, like all the little stuff that people have to do. Like it's beyond me. That's the whole hard science thing. Some of these people that are, coming up with all these medical advances. Mm-hmm. Like it's one thing to talk about it. Like right now, if you and I were like, all right, let's come up with a cure, where would we even begin? You know what I mean? Compared to these guys who are actually doing it, and they know what they need to do. They know how to mix and concoct certain stuff together in order to get a result, in order to create a vaccine. Whereas like we would be like, drink orange juice.
And the
like we don't know.
Yeah, and the unfortunate method in which to finding a vaccine is exposing people to the virus, and then trying multiple different tests at multiple different rates to see which one works, right? Because that's why it's gonna take so long to find a vaccine.
Like just testing in general, you mean?
Yeah, because from what I learned in from the news, I guess, the doctors were saying it takes time to find a vaccine that works, or a set of concoctions that work, and then try different dosages of that, because too much could be potentially worse to the person, because then it eliminates all this other shit, or too little will just take the virus will find ways in which to combat the vaccine to then make it worse, but just enough will cure the person. So they were talking about that too, and I was like, damn, not only is it hard to find something that works, but also find how much of it is good, So of course it's gonna take a while.
It's crazy. But it's cool how quickly they've kind of pushed forward. Like Neil was saying, they've kind of pushed forward on some of
they have to. They're losing billions of dollars. The market.
Just industries in general?
Yeah, the economy is terrible conditions, because nobody's buying shit. And
everybody's buying shit, but there's certain shit people aren't buying. But the stock market's crashing. Everyone's buying groceries. Everyone's buying toilet paper, shit they don't need.
They do need,
but they don't need in excess. Like we just got one thing of toilet paper, and that will for sure last us.
Show that shit off. Check that shit out.
Yeah, we'll put up a picture right here. Boop. Right there. Mm-hmm. Like, that one package of toilet paper will last us.
Tell the story of how you got it.
We went to Costco this morning.
Yeah.
Because we were thinking it opens at 10?
Yeah.
And we were like, all right, we'll get there at 8:30. That's an hour and a half before.
Right.
We ended up getting there like 8:45. And the line around Costco was about 150 people. Mm-hmm. And we were like, this is too crazy. Let's get out of here. They're not going to have anything. And so we just leave. We go to Ralph's and we get some fruit.
We still got to do a line there, though.
Yeah, real quick line, like 5 minutes. Not that bad at all.
Yeah, it was
real
maybe
quick.
10 people in front of us.
Yeah, and we got right in. So that was not bad. But they didn't have anything. They didn't have anything we wanted or needed for the most part.
We just grabbed like 2 or 3 things that were like, okay,
some vegetables,
we'll grab
some
something.
fruit. Yeah. But then when we got back, there's this lady parked in the driveway, and she was handing a bunch of stuff to one of the other individuals in our apartment complex, and she was handing him like eggs and hot dogs and stuff, and I was like, yo, where'd you get those eggs?
Yeah.
And then she was like, oh, we got it at Costco. And I was like, oh, you did? I was like, we just went there. I was like, what time did you get there? She's
it was an elderly
lady. Yeah. And she was like, 3 a.m. I was like, what? 3 a.m. That's too crazy. Couldn't do it. But then she's like, yeah, you want anything? I'm going to go back right now. And she's like, I'm going to go back there tomorrow. I guess Costco's supposedly closing down.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that happens. But she's like, yeah, I'm going to go back. And I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, grab me some toilet paper and some eggs, and we need laundry soap. And then she just left. She's like just disappeared like the wind. I was like, she's like, yeah, I'll come. She's like, yeah, what apartment are you? 109? I was like, 109. And she's like, okay, yeah, 109. And then she just disappeared. She's like, I'll come back and I'll talk to you. And I was like, I thought she was going to come back and talk to me and like get a list. Cause like, all right, I was like, all right, sweet. Cause I was like, okay, yeah, get us some stuff and then I'll throw you $20. And I was thinking she said she was going to go tomorrow morning. So I'm thinking, okay, she's going to come back and talk to me. Mm-hmm. I'll give her this list, and then she'll go tomorrow morning and get some stuff from me. I'm like, that's great. That's so nice of her. And that's worth $20, $25, to not wait in a line for 7 hours. That's awesome. And then she shows up at the door again in like half an hour, maybe an hour. And she has eggs, and she has 60 eggs and a Gain bottle of laundry soap. And I was like, oh, cool, thanks. Like, and it was nice of her, but I was like, we also needed some other stuff. Like, we needed, toilet paper. And she's like, okay, well, I have toilet paper. And then she went and got this big old thing of toilet paper that's like, I don't even know, at least 24 rolls or something.
Yeah.
24,
we
36.
We can extend that out for a couple.
Dude, yeah,
weeks,
that along with like the toilet wipes that I ordered from eBay for sure.
That was insane. You got a bunch of wipes, dude. All the ones that are on top of the.
I just
got all of those.
6 packs of 42. So.
And you have those 5-gallon jugs in the room. Like,
well,
you did it right. You did it right.
Well, like I was like aware back in January when I saw Wuhan, China get locked down in January. Like I remember because I'm on TikTok because like most people, the people that are freaking out now, they're following news. Mm-hmm. I'm following social media, so like I'm just saying like you are a little bit ahead of the game because the information is coming directly from and uploaded directly from these individuals who are in these places. So when the
TikTok stuff,
yeah, but it's not as fast. So
I get scared quicker.
Yeah. I
get out there right away.
I'm just saying it comes in faster when you're actually paying attention to the social media, whereas news, they're going to show you very specific things based upon what they want to show you, based upon the ratings, whatever. Based upon the ratings. I'm going through puberty.
Right.
But I remember seeing that back in January on like TikTok, and mainly TikTok and Instagram. And like they're showing people walking around in Wuhan with like assault rifles and geared up masks and everything.
Yeah, the arms industry is booming right now.
Is it?
Yeah, the news has been talking about that. It's like toilet paper.
The arms industry, like the military guns.
Yeah, dude. Like
why?
Like
because people are buying stuff stores, to stock up.
Yeah, they're fucking buying like crazy right now.
Like to the private citizens, like not even the government. So people are buying up like because they're scared, huh? They like want guns.
Of course.
Like, you're not gonna come and take my toilet paper, goddammit.
Yeah. I
guess
mean, that's America,
But
the thing is that they're not wrong, They're not wrong.
I mean,
why do you roll your eyes like that? You're like, okay.
I mean,
maybe they are, maybe they're not.
I mean, it's,
what the fuck?
I mean, it's cool that they got guns. Like, I think I mean, I guess. I mean, if I had the money,
it's
why
smart,
not? Yeah,
dude. It's smart.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea to have some guns. But you don't. I guess I don't think it's necessary. But if it's that thing where it's like, if you need it and you don't have it, you're gonna wish you had it, kind of thing.
Exactly.
But you don't need to buy a whole stockpile of guns.
Yeah.
Like, that's silly. Like, self-protection, but hopefully you're not out there purging people and, like, running around with ARs and multiple packs of ammo. Like some sort of Neo, I'm the one, I'm going to chase down toilet paper in the streets kind of person. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's the part. But, I don't think most people do that, because if most people did that, there would be way more shit happening on the streets. You know what I mean? Like, there's dumb people out there with guns trying to prove something, but usually it stems from something. They don't do that just for fun. They have some type of illness or bad, fucking fucked up life. I mean, we're the country that has more people incarcerated than any other country on the planet.
Okay.
It's crazy. But
so what does that play into?
That plays into there's a lot of people that have been in prison and then got out and then trying to straighten out their life, but the whole system is geared towards demonizing these people, even though they paid their time, and trying to get back is so hard, and then they end up going back, and they have this vicious cycle of going out of prison and back to prison. And I feel that those people that went and bought guns are trying to defend themselves against those people, and because they discriminate on people, because discriminations happen all of the time, and there is still discrimination today.
So you think people are buying guns because they're discriminating against people who they think are going to hurt them?
Right? Like, that's why.
I figure a lot of people are buying guns to protect themselves against the government, or protect themselves against
the government.
Military.
Ain't going to come up. The government isn't going to show up to your front doorstep saying, hey, how much extra supplies you got in there, huh? We need some. It's like, of course not.
Maybe not, but I mean, it's the whole idea of, like, you know, if they do martial law, then that takes this whole thing into something else. Like, so if you have guns, then you're able to protect yourself from the military coming in and trying to fuck with you. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why people do have guns, is to protect themselves from the military, from the government. So they're supposed to, you know, help you, but in times where it gets dynamic or crazy, it's like sometimes you got to protect yourself.
Yeah, you will. You will have to. We've never had that since.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's weird, right? It's weird that we're in this
some
like
barbaric shit. Like, we're living in a castle.
Not barbaric, but it's just dynamic. It's like, what do you mean by barbaric?
Yeah, well, like, if you think about times where there was kings and castles and empires and all that, like, we're all individual small empires that are trying to hold our supplies, and smaller empires are coming at us trying to take our shit, you know, take over the
smaller
world.
Empires is in, like,
other people,
yeah.
You know, but, like, the only way you be some type of threat is if you're going around stealing shit. I mean, if you hold on your own, you keep your own shit together, you're going to be fine.
Let's hope so.
But this is unprecedented because this never happened in the past. You know, it hasn't happened in modern time. Yeah. That's way different, because modern time is way different than any time in the past, because our connectivity is so quick. Like, we can share ideas so quickly, you know. That's why so many people have been lining up at Costco. It's because they know it's fucking just gonna get worse.
Yeah, why do you think that is? Why do you think people are? Do you think that's just panic buying, or do you think people are doing it reason? Like, where's the line?
That's the thing. Like, you have your own theory about everything's yes and no, or whatever your theory is. Where, yes, they should prepare themselves, but don't prepare yourself in excess, like excessively, to the point where you have a whole closet or a whole garage filled with supplies that are repetitive, like toilet paper and paper towels and stuff that obviously now is going to be becoming very rare and very valuable.
Yeah, what sucks is the people that are trying to take advantage of this situation. Like, I get it. You know, those
are the people I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, like, not just the people who are taking advantage for themselves, but, like, the people that are going out and buying way more than they need. You know, like, the people that are going out, like, I saw this video on TikTok or Instagram where someone, like, literally had a truckload of toilet paper. There was, like, probably 40, and it was, like, overflowing, and they're, like, strapping it in with straps.
Right.
And like, and you know, what are they going to use that for? They're going to go resell it, and they're going to, you know, mark it up and make up thing. And it's like, yeah. And I get it. Like, you know, you can do that, but
don't have any jobs right now. Like,
me included. I mean, I was driving for Lyft. You, on the other hand, you got one up. You got more hours because you're doing security.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I lost my job, dude. Remember when I lost my security job, my other security job? Then I was, like, struggling because I was only working. At one point, I was working Mondays to Fridays, that one security, and then another security, which is the security I do today, on the weekends. So I was working full time all the time, right? And then they fired me from my regular security, which Monday to Friday. So I lost 5 days. Remember when I sent that fucking red letter saying, "Hey, I'm not gonna get fucked over,
because you were trying to get more money.
Yeah, because all the new employees were making more money than I was, and I was like, I've been here for fucking 8 months or whatever. How the fuck are they making more money than me? Yeah. Fuck you, and I'm training them. Fuck that, dude.
How does that work? Because there's like I don't know if it's a right to work state or like I never understood or understand that right to work state as far as.
The employer, your boss, can fire you for any reason.
And they don't even have to tell you why or anything. Yeah. You're out.
You're fired. Yeah.
Is that true though? Because I remember when I worked at B-Dubs back in the day.
I mean, if they discriminate on you for your race or something.
But how do you know? That's what I'm saying. Like
because of credible sources. Like other people.
I guess if you catch like a secret video of you like filming them or something. Where you're like, they're like cussing you out. Right. But like I remember like back in the day, B-Dubs, like we had so many shitty people working for us. Right. And they would be very cautious. Management would be very cautious. Because I remember I was like pretty close with the managers because I was the lead bartender there. Mm. And they'd be like very cautious to let people go or fire people because they said they would get sued all the time. And I don't know if they ever won, but they said they would get sued all the time by people that got fired. So I'm like, when you sue an employer for getting fired, like when's a good reason, and like is that even worth it? Like are you gonna really get somebody? I think maybe it might only be worth it if maybe like you're prego or something, and then you leave because then you might be able to get like 9 months worth of pay all at once. Boom, like that would that might be some bank. But other than that, if you're just trying to recoup like $200 or $300, that's definitely probably not worth it.
No,
I don't know.
I don't think so, but
it's tricky.
All that stuff, dude. It's just.
How do you think it's gonna play out over the next couple weeks, next couple months? What is March 20th right now? March 20th.
It's March 20th.
It 20th, is Friday, March 20th. So we got. What do you think? They say they supposedly is supposed to be 2 weeks. Right. So April 1st is supposedly when that restriction or that ban is gonna be lifted.
Right. And what do you think? So we're what? So 3 weeks ago, we were seeing this ramp up, but we didn't think it was going to get so crazy to the point where we're going to go to Costco and not be able to get our supplies.
I kind of expected it. Yeah. I kind of expected it. What? I don't know. I guess, because if you look in South Korea, if you look in China, if you look in Italy now, it's crazy how bad Italy's getting hit. But if you look at these countries, like they are on complete lockdown. Like there's nobody in the streets. So I kind of expect us to move there within the next week or two to where they'll have probably mandatory curfews, and it'll probably happen where there's another additional 2 weeks or an additional month even.
Yeah.
Like maybe all of April. I bet all of April will be like a full lockdown, and everyone will, be required to stay in their homes unless you're out getting, specific things you need. Everyone's gonna be. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. What do you think?
And then the government, like Trump was being so like, oh, it's gonna go. We're handling it.
It's hard. It's hard to watch him, dude.
Yeah. He's because he says one thing as like, hey, don't worry about it. We're working on it. We got the best people, and then he brings the guy that's running it all and the advisor of everybody on like this illness. He goes up and says 60 to 70% of the population might become infected. So this is just about to ramp up. And I'm like, okay. So obviously things are not under control, homie. Why are you saying you got everything under control? That's what...
Because Trump just likes to talk.
That's why I think people already took that for granted. It's already true. He's going to do anything. He's going to say anything that needs to be said for people to just be like that's what they want to hear. They want to hear that everything's being taken care of. You got the best people on there and everything, and then the best guy he has running it is saying, hey, we're working on it, but it's just about to get worse. So I bypass what he says and then just hear the details and then listen to the guy that is actually the scientist that knows what's happening, and take that. I take everything with a grain of salt, right? Because you don't know. Sometimes that it's right. Sometimes it's not true that it's gonna ramp up, but it looks like it is. And
You know what is cool though? I was watching another video on TikTok. I feel like I'm blasting TikTok today.
You fucking love that cancer.
It's cancer. I mean, it's easy. It's content that just it's like quick. It's quick in your face.
Yeah, for those people that can't read.
But like, so I was on there and they were saying that they were showing some footage from like Italy and China and some other places where people have kind of stopped moving or stopped, living, like being in the streets and all that. And like, so like for one example, in Venice, Italy, there's like dolphins swimming through the canals of Italy now.
Really?
Yeah, dude. And like white swans and stuff, like floods of like white swans and like different animals and schools of fishes that they never have seen in Italy before. So, and then there's like wild boars and wild pigs and stuff that are like coming through the streets of Italy. So there's like animals are like already like just like coming in and like checking everything out, and they're like, whoa. And like the water in Italy or in Venice, I should say, in the canals are like crystal clear right now. Really? Because normally there's gondolas and people, so many tourists, and the houses that, like there's so much pollution in general just in that area. But apparently it's so crystal clear you can see straight through to the bottom in the canals. Mm-hmm. And it's like what you would probably imagine, like romantic Italy to be, where you're like, oh, let's go to Italy and go, because I've been there and it was 15 years ago, but it's not what you expect it to be. Like, because obviously when they film it or when they show it in the movies, it's iconic, they're filming it in a certain way and they're showing it in a certain way, where you're like going through the canals and it's all perfect and they're changing the color on everything. Mm-hmm. But now if you were to able to, like, when they revamp or restart it, the first people who are going to be going to Venice are going to be like, ooh, because it's going to be that crystal clear, perfect water. And there's going to be dolphins jumping over you and like flying, and unicorns will be floating by. And
you'll be a princess.
Yeah, you'll be a prince and princess.
I hear that place is flooded now, bro.
What do you mean
Venice
flooded?
Is flooded.
Oh, I heard it's flooding. Yeah, I heard, in the next couple of years, just in general from
Dude, the water
global
reaches
warming.
It reaches all the way to your knees. You know that, right? It's like during
the hurricane season or something like that.
It still is, dude. It didn't go away.
Well, I mean, I just saw footage that it's fine now, right now, but
what?
Yeah, it's like it comes in with the season. So if there's a hurricane or something,
there's waves. I mean, there's
I know there's waves. I've seen the waves.
There's waves to the ocean.
Right. Ebb and flow. Rises and falls.
But last time I saw, it was all underwater and there was no tourists fucking walking around because everything's flooded. But we're seeing the planet change faster than ever before, because we're taking some level of effect onto it. And I'm not saying that we need to quit doing everything. Obviously, it's hard to stop the quality of life we've made already because we're so used to it. But at the same time, we gotta find new solutions, right? We're gonna have to face a point in time in our future that certain parts of the planet are not gonna be able to be visited again because it's just gonna change forever. Like all those people that will flood over the next 10-15 years are just gonna accept all those islands that are gonna be flooded, are just gonna accept that they're gonna have to move on.
What if Hawaii goes completely underwater? What if, like, right now the people who live in Hawaii, or if you've ever visited Hawaii, what if 50 years from now, 100 years from now, that's a legend? What if Or I mean, but also I think there's active volcanoes over there. So if anything, that might even become bigger. Like there might be more land.
Yeah.
But it also might be destroyed by the volcano. Because if it's an active volcano, then what if, if it explodes and completely covers the entire area, then everybody there is fucked.
Well, that's the whole process of making more land, is that it keeps erupting until there's a ton land to where the volcanoes is.
Isn't that crazy though? That's crazy to think. Like, that's kind of how the Earth makes new land. That's how the Earth kind of regenerates itself. Dude. Well, I mean, that's part of it too. Well, because I know plate tectonics swallow each other, as they move.
Yeah.
Certain plates will go underneath, and other ones will come over the top of it.
And some will collide and make mountains.
Right, but I can't remember. Do some plates actually rise out of the earth? You know if that makes sense? Or like is there parts of the earth where a certain plate is just straight up coming out? I guess, I mean, to me that would be volcanoes, right? Like where does new land come from? New land must come from volcanoes, right?
Well, yeah, that's
so plate tectonics are like the way in which Earth swallows land, and volcanoes are the way in which
there's land everywhere. It's just covered by water. You know, there's no part in the planet where there's no land.
Right, but I'm saying the way in which, I guess, that land comes
out of the ocean. Yeah, it's by colliding plate tectonics that either come together and make mountains, or one comes over the other in a certain degree where it's above seawater. And obviously, like we were mentioning, seawater also changes. It has an ebb and flow of rising and lowering.
But all new land probably comes from volcanoes, right?
Yeah. But Hawaii is a volcano. It was made by volcanoes. There's gonna be more land in Hawaii.
Dude, what if Yosemite goes off? Yosemite's that big one, right?
Yeah, and then we're fucked.
That would, I heard if that goes off,
we're all fucked.
Then just the debris, just the smoke that would rise up would cover the whole big portion of the globe. Yeah,
the whole planet, dude. Like we would have to.
It would turn us into like a winter.
Yeah, and then the crazy thing is that it all depends on the global wave and flow also of the wind, of blowing it towards somewhere and then bringing it back and then blowing it again, and then that slowly goes through everything. And that smoke is fucking toxic smoke, where like it's like 10 times worse than freaking, smoking and shit. It's fucking terrible. You're gonna get cancer.
Why? Because it has like methane, or it has
like metals, dude.
Right.
Like fiber.
It's coming straight from the earth.
Yeah, like microscopic metals that are terrible for you. You're breathing in that shit in, getting in your lungs, blocking parts of your lungs. Can't breathe and shit. Like you can't go in there and pick every microscopic piece of metal out of your lungs.
Yeah, what would you do if that happened?
And I hear that's what the coronavirus attacks, is your lung cells. It sticks to your lungs and just prohibits you from breathing well.
I mean, even Joe Rogan, like what we were kind of watching earlier, he was kind of bringing up a good point, which is that even though this is bad, and it is bad, there could be a lot worse epidemics or natural catastrophes.
By the fact that this coronavirus is just a fever and a headache and stuff, it could be like fucking smallpox or
a solar flare or
plague.
An earthquake or something,
anything else. Yeah, that's crazy. Like global and weather related.
Yeah.
I mean, weather related is kind of hard because you can gauge that. You know when it's coming. The news is pretty good at letting you know. It's like, hey, the weather's gonna get pretty crazy around here, and we advise you to leave. Versus a virus, you're just going throughout your day, and one day you're feeling terrible, and then the next day it gets worse and worse to the point where you're at the edge of death.
But the virus, I guess, if you're at
and you're killing people, you're killing people along the way.
If you're at the epicenter, yeah. But if like it's an earthquake, or if it's like a solar flare, there's no warning for that.
I will say
that's the worst.
Solar flare is probably the worst.
You probably just vaporize.
Exactly.
And let, like, if it was a direct hit, like a crazy hit, like in Knowing with Nicolas Cage. Wasn't that crazy? That would be the craziest thing if a solar flare hit, because everyone would just be because we don't even think about that, and that's so it's so possible. That's what's nuts. Or an asteroid, even like an asteroid, that because we think like as like the general public, we think that scientists and NASA and these people who are observing space, we think they're on top of it. We think they're observing every bit of the sky and they're tracking all these asteroids, and like No, they're doing their best job, but there could be several huge asteroids in different parts that are flying in different elliptical orbits, and they could totally just wipe us out, and we would have no idea. It might be like, so we're like, oh shit, we got 5 minutes. There's a giant asteroid coming.
Right.
Then you're done.
Right.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. That is it. I mean,
what would you do? What would you do if you knew you had an hour? What would you do if they're like, right now on your phone, they just did a national emergency. There's a giant asteroid coming to Earth. Everyone has about 1 hour to live. What the fuck? I wonder if they would even do that, or if they would just like let it happen. They probably wouldn't, because I would want to
see the things coming. Probably, I would like to see, because that would be a sight to see. A sight to see.
Oh, you'd want to see
an asteroid coming straight your way.
Right.
And there's no way you can get away from it. That shit would look super epic.
Just light up a blunt and like
ginormous ball of fire as big as the planet coming our way.
Yeah.
Probably a bunch of smaller pieces that are also following it will probably hit us, and a lot of us would be engulfed in flames by that. But
if it's big enough, you just be vaporized anyways.
Yeah, if I was one of the ones, it was one solid big one. Imagine a ginormous spaceship-looking thing that's just gonna collide with the planet and obliterate us.
Right. I remember Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about that. He was talking about like how he was out on a bridge somewhere or something. He looked up at the sky, and he saw some shooting stars, and then one was like, and it came, and the light just got brighter and brighter and brighter, and then suddenly he saw smoke, and he realized that asteroid was coming right at him, and that it burned up in the atmosphere. But easily that could have been a big enough asteroid to where it could have hit him. He's like, it was coming right for him. I was like, he's like, in that moment, he was like in awe. Killed. Oh yeah, imagine like getting hit by like if just like a tiny little bit, like a rock, or something like just clears right through your nose.
Dude, somebody actually died off like that, dude.
That'd be sad.
That's
like the opposite of winning the lottery.
Right?
That's so
it's
bad.
Like being at the wrong place at the wrong time. Or maybe it's destiny, dude. It was destiny.
Fate.
You're gonna die by an asteroid, young one.
What do you think of that? What do you think of destiny or fate?
It's true, dude. It's not something I kind of believe it. I do, because you're putting this live. How can you deny faith or
fate?
Your fate? Yeah. Because
what is fate?
Anything you choose, any path you make, it's already been determined, and you yourself can't know that.
You think? Yeah. Let's talk about that. Do you think there is such thing as determinism? What does that mean? Because I was reading this book, Until the End of Time by Brian Greene, and he talks about that. The book is kind of a lot about that. You know, he talks about entropy, and he talks the fact that even though we think we have free will, we are this deterministic playing out of chemical processes and atomic processes. And as we progress through time, or progress through these moments that we're all sharing, we aren't actually in control of our ability to influence either ourselves or our environment. It's just the playing out of chemical processes or atomic processes. But he says it's kind of like this illusion that we have in our head, that we think we have free will. We think we have this ability to influence our environment, but really it's just the complicated workings of this dynamic amalgamation of all these different what would you call it?
Neurons.
Yeah, connections between all these different things.
Chemicals.
So yeah. I'm curious. I disagree with it. So I wondered. I feel like you agree.
Oh yeah.
Because you've talked to me before, and you said that you think that determinism or that we are in that same way, kind of just playing out. But I'm in the opposite camp.
We could totally be in some type of simulation that has been designed to take a part, a very specific part, and play in this crescendo of reality. Because we look at reality as like, oh, this small progression of every day, every hour, every second that takes place. We experience it at a very slow rate. But those people that make simulations or whatever, they fucking take off, or this probably is running in supersonic speed compared to their dimension or whatever. So at the end of what we call life, it is just a result of an experience, you know, and that this experience could be influenced by the world, but could also be designed. Even if it was influenced by the world, those influencing factors have been predetermined by the creation of it to then have some level of result. It's kind of like, you ever made paint, like made a new color off of different colors?
Yeah.
It takes a very precise amount of paint and types of paint to make another color, right?
Okay.
But when you're making a brand new color, you kind of fucking add all the shit. You know what colors you're adding in there. You have an idea what it could be, but then it results into this thing, what it is. So, yeah, in one way, you didn't know the result, but you knew it was going to be a color. So, how much of determinism really is determinism? Is determinism exactly how everything takes place in your life equates to determinism? Or a life worth living, or a life you live for yourself, is the determinism of determinism? It kind of comes down to how you describe determinism.
Yeah, how do you describe it? How do you define it? What does determinism mean for you?
It does seem like we have some level of prediction to our lives, because just look at how you and I interact in a very unique way, because we know each other and we live with each other, and because of that we have this freedom to speak about deep, important things, and some non-deep and just random things that are throwaways, even be an asshole to each other. Versus meeting a brand new person or a group of people, you will have a certain type of script per se that you play every time you interact with these people, depending on who they are. You're nice, you're caring, and communicative in a way in which, like, they need something from you, you need something from them, or you're kind enough to have the manners to exchange kindness with each other, and that's scripted. And say, hi, how are you? And they say, oh, I'm good, how are you? That is very scripted. And that's partly our culture. Our culture is designed so that you have manners, what we call manners. And most people do. Those people that don't, those aren't very scripted, but your response is pretty scripted. Is that do not engage, because the more you engage, obviously the more it escalates, and that's something you don't want to go through, because who the fuck wants to go through? And those people that do have played a script of, hey, nobody's fucking gonna take me out, nobody's gonna fuck
but how does that relate to determinism?
Because that is deterministic. It is scripted.
But you said even before, though, that we are, I understand that seems scripted, but aren't you determining yourself? Aren't you choosing your script? So
yeah, there's different dimensions in which that determinism you speak of takes play. Because could the world play an influence on who you are, or could your own subconscious take true effect on who you are? Like, who really are you? Are you the person that lives in this world, or are you a person that takes that is controlled by your subconscious? So which influence has the most control over you? Your subconscious or the world? And there's probably
I think there's lots of influence. Go ahead, sorry.
They're probably competing. That's all I'm saying. It's like those two worlds are probably competing.
The exterior and interior.
I mean, there's been a lot of studies of this. They're not very accurate, but I think there's something to be said about them. Which, remember.
Well, what do you think? I guess what I'm curious is, so you do not agree that we or that energy or that anybody has free will, correct? Or are you like half?
I think I wanna play the half game because
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. I think we're half.
Because I don't want to be. I know I'm not sure of anything. You know.
Okay.
Because as soon as you're sure of anything, you kind of like find out later that, hey, those beliefs aren't really playing out as I thought. Like, you know, like I grew up Christian, right? I mean, Catholic. And I mean, when I went to church, I did the whole thing. I even got my first Holy Communion. And I still was like, you know, if God really wants us to fucking succeed and I did all this shit, why is my shit not turning around? You know, like, why am I not getting a job or doing better in school or doing all these things? Like, why aren't things getting better for me if I'm doing all these things that he wants me to do? Mm-hmm. And then people just chalk it up to being, oh, you're just being tested. Or okay. you need to go through more time of overcoming adversity or whatever the matter is.
Sure.
And I just don't want to be fixed in one thing. I do believe that there is some level of destiny. I believe that we're not fully in control, but the control we do have shouldn't be taken by granted. Like, you should respect the choices you make. Like, you should make good choices.
Okay.
Because, I mean,
so what do you think free will is then? If you kind of define determinism, so how would you define your free will? If you say you have any free will at all, what would you call that, and what does that look like?
I had a way better argument maybe last year. I think I haven't practiced that argument because the argument to not having any control over your life, everything being deterministic, is by the fact that you were born at a certain place with a certain parents at a certain time, right? And by those factors alone, you are born in a certain generation, a certain place, as in if you were born in fucking Iraq versus America, you would have a completely different path through life. And then your parents also, even if you're born in Iraq or in America, if you have really wealthy parents, you will definitely have more opportunity. So, like, where is it that is the end result of determinism? Is determinism still the same as making your own choices and going through life? Then why does it matter if everything is deterministic or not? You know, because you're still taking the choices you can make regardless. Like, you, even if there is some guy writing the script that is your life, you still need to live it. It's not like you can hit or get in contact with that guy and be like, hey man, how about you give me a big old D and then I become a super awesome actor and become a millionaire. It's like, right. No, you're determined to be a regular guy and be a good person and have these kids and then die off to let the next generation take over. You could be an extra in this great play of the world, you know?
Yeah, I guess what gets me about...
The thing is that we have a desire to be admired. We all do.
Okay.
Right? What were you going to say?
Well, what does that mean? Why I say that? What is that? How does that play into determinism or free will?
We're social animals. We're naturally having to communicate. If you live in the mountains, some people do. There's a small percentage of people that do, but they don't go through the struggles of not having communication, having social life. And that social life is having someone to hear your thoughts and you hear other people's thoughts, other people's opinions, because by hearing other people's opinions, you make up new opinions. And by speaking your opinions, you feel this level of validation, or that you have been real in this world in a way. So we have a natural inclination to want to
be validated. But how does that relate to free will or determinism?
If we are a natural animal that is social, that social environment influences us to want to become something important, to not be just an extra, because that's not valuable, that's not
so our desire to be validated is another influence, is another deterministic wheel or cog within this machine that's kind of driving us and pushing us to act and interact with people.
I think so. I'd agree.
I'm
not a scientist. We're talking as if we're scientists, or I'm a psychologist, and I'm not.
I don't like that. You are, though.
Just having an opinion, and this is not my worldview.
Well, it is your worldview. It's totally your worldview.
I bounce around different theories all the time. Like, it's really highly related to my mood. If I am in a good mood and I think that everything's great and I got plenty of food or whatever, I think that everything's great, even if it's deterministic. If I'm in a bad position where, like, oh shit, dude, like, fucking, I can't pay rent, or I lost my job, or this corona shit, I think I got it, and whatever. All those things, when things are bad, that's where I'm like, fuck all of this. Everything's the worst. The worst things happen to me all the time. I can't believe it. I think the worst. And I think you feel, you go through the same thing. Although we have different,
scales.
Yeah. Ability to overcome it. Like ability to just let go
tactics
of it. Yeah.
Of approaching it.
What is it called? Tolerance.
Or different tolerances. Yeah, for the struggles we're going through.
Yeah. That's tolerance is a huge part of going through life, dude. Because you're gonna hit some lows where, like, why the fuck do I need to keep going on this? Seems like it's not playing out how I wanted it to, so what the fuck? It really is the solution to all your problems. But the thing is that it all turns around. It's all cyclical. It all comes back around, and you're like, oh shit, it really came around. Now I'm like, have this new job. I'm dating this someone or whatever.
Yeah, there's a rise and fall to everything.
You're in the other camp, right? Where you're like,
I think it's both. I think the thing that bugs me about determinism is, like, so right now I'm choosing to be, I'm choosing to act, I'm choosing to move or to say or to think in some regard. So, like, when, for the people that argue the free will camp, or like 100% I have free will, I like one of the arguments that they have, which is, okay, if I stop moving, or if I stop interacting with my environment, if I just slump down, then what happens? I think if you are truly a deterministic being, and energy and everything that we're interacting is all determined, then you would not have the ability to control your own form. You wouldn't have the ability to interact with your environment, because you would literally be predetermined, or you'd be moved without the ability to stop that movement. The ability to control energy in any regard, whether it's coming in or whether it's going out, that for me is free will. But for me, I'm not full in either camp. I'm half deterministic and half free will. That's my belief, which is that I think there are certain things that you can control and there's certain things you can't. So the ability, or what you are able to control, is your free will, and the stuff that you're not able to control is determined. So there's certain things, like, your family that you're born into, the fact that you're on this giant rock flying through space, the country that you're in right now, the fact that you need to breathe in order to sustain yourself, at least for the most part, as far as I know. You need to eat, you need to, go through this, diurnal or nocturnal schedule where you're either sleeping or awake. So there's certain things that we have to do, and your body will force you to try to do, or you can say, okay, I'm not going to eat for 40 days. I'm not going to drink for 20 days or whatever. I'm not going to drink water, drink any liquids. But there's going to become a point where you're going to become so desperate that you'll I think begin to lose your willpower, your ability to will yourself, your ability to choose to not eat or to not drink, and you will just naturally be inclined to look for food or go and grab something to drink. Whereas other things, the ability to, pick something up or speak or interact, we have immediate free will. So I have the ability to, for me, free will is not the ability to control everything in your environment, because that's silly. Of course not. For me, free will is the ability to influence energy in some way. So whatever way that you're able to influence energy, I think that's free will. So, and it starts, obviously, one of the dynamics or aspects of energy that you're able to control the most is, I think, your thoughts and your emotions. So I think it starts there. And then besides being able to freely control your thoughts and freely control your emotions, you have the limited ability to control energy around you. So you have, I think it starts, so it starts emotions and thoughts, and then you have your physical body. And then the further out you go from your physical body, the less free will you have. But you can even still influence your environment through your free will. Like, for example, I can speak to you. I have words that are vibrating through the air, and I can say, hey, Mario, will you pick up that pen for me? Will you pick up that cup? And you could pick up that cup. And I just, with my energy, with my voice, with my thoughts, I communicated to something else. And then that something interacted with something else, and then that thing moved. So in that way, you do have the ability to control and influence energy outside of yourself or at a distance from yourself. People right now are watching, or people right now that, are watching your podcast. They are going to be influenced by your words or my words. And that might change their lifestyle or some way in which they engage with something else, or they might literally stop what they're doing for whatever they're doing right now. Maybe they're taking a shit, who knows? But in some way, you are able to actually influence energy that is not your physical body, that is not connected to you. And so in that way, I think the ability to communicate and interact with energy outside of yourself depends upon your ability to understand the language, or understand the ability to actually communicate with whatever it is that energy is, however it is. Like, if it's a dog, you're not going to be able to speak English to it necessarily, but it'll pick up on your cues. And if you are training it over time, you will be able to speak to it in a certain way, and it will interact with you. And then you are able to control energy outside of yourself.
How much of your free will do you really have then, out of 100%?
Well, that's what I was just explaining, which is that, out of...
I'd say 50%? 50%?
It's control, not... I wouldn't say
50 it's... 50 non-control?
Of what, though? What are you referring to? Your physical body?
Reality. The world we live in. Yeah. Like, that's where it matters.
It's probably like the most... if you're talking about all of the universe, it's the most minuscule amount possible, because it's so big.
Yeah.
You have very, very, very little free will when it comes to the grand scheme of things.
That's right.
But I think this goes into my hypothesis, or my whole theory, which is that the further you expand your relationships, or the further you expand your ability to interact with your environment, however you do that, whether it be through language, whether it be through the internet, whether it be through communication of any sort, you are expanding your consciousness. You're expanding your free will. You're expanding your ability to influence your environment. I think that's really cool. So if the more connected you become with your environment, whether it be physical matter or whether it be the animals in your life or the beings in your life, then the more you're able to expand your consciousness or your ability to interact, your free will. You're able to expand your ability to freely move in your environment. I think that's pretty cool.
It feels like the more you believe in that, the more you believe in that, the more you like lean into that. That's really convenient, Don't you?
But isn't it logical?
No, I mean,
why?
Logical is hard because there is no contrary to that. There is no way in which I can prove to you that you're not right. Because,
but I mean, isn't that correct though? If I'm speaking to you and I say, "Hey Mario, pick up that cup," didn't I just move that by asking you to move that?
But sometimes you don't. And sometimes I won't do it. Like right now, I'm not picking it up.
I'm not saying that you have. Okay, I see what you're saying. You're saying that essentially it is possible that your free will can influence, but it's not immediate in the same way that I'm like controlling my energy right now.
Right. So like 50% possible, 50% not possible.
Oh, okay. I get what you're trying to say. Yeah. The ability. Right. I think the further out it extends from your thoughts and your emotions, the less
your thoughts.
Because think about it, your thoughts and your emotions are what are controlling you.
But isn't your thoughts your emotions too? Because if you're in a state of always having really good time and then you had a bad time, that would be tremendous to you. But you've always had a bad time and then you had another bad time, it's like just another Wednesday. So your emotions is kind of the same thing as your thoughts.
I feel like thoughts and emotions are the same, but they're on different scales of the same polarity. Meaning that for me, thoughts and emotions are both consciousness. And this goes, obviously, I've told you this, or related to this idea before, which is that for me, thoughts are like the most immediate interaction of consciousness, and emotions are more of a broad spectrum of consciousness. So for me, thought is the ability of willing energy, or it's like the outbound form of energy, whereas emotions are like the inbound form of energy. So as you think, you are essentially moving, or you are influencing energy. And as you emote, you are accepting energy. You are interpreting the energy that's coming in. So I think they're the same thing in that they're both you interacting with your environment. But thought is more, the more you are thinking, the more sharp your thought is and less emotional you are, I think the more your energy is influencing your environment, meaning that energy is on its way out. And then the more that the energy is on its way in, you're emoting, you're feeling, you're receiving that energy. So they're the same, but I think they're on opposite spectrums.
I don't know how to think about that. I don't know if you're wrong. It's an interesting way of looking at it. I every time you give me a theory of your theory, I always deduce it to, he found a way of making yin and yang out of everything. You made the yin and the yang out of everything. Your freedom, the way in which you perceive the universe, science, physics, chemistry, everything. You broke it down to these two individual parts where together make up this thing, which is a natural way in which to look at the world, because that's how we break everything down. It's like we look at...
I think that's totally true, though. I think we are living in the polarity. We are living in the yin and yang, which is that we are made up of space and we're made up of substance. And we are not fully black or fully white. We're gray. We're this amalgamation, this mixture of these two polarities. Yeah, and I think you do see that in everything. You see it in your emotions. You see it in the tides of the ocean. You see it in the the presidencies, you see it in your sleep patterns.
Yeah, but there's parts where it stays fixed, and it's always shifting. So knowing when it's just that one thing, it's hard to narrow down, because there are times where it is just this one thing. But the thing is that you're doing a process of scientifically thinking about things, in which you look at one thing and you break that thing down to its very makeup of parts, right? Like any engineer would look at a car, will break it down to its individual parts to summarize what it's made of, right? Okay. So you do the same thing with reality, and you broke it down to this theory that you made up, that illustrates a story in which this all took place in a way. And
that's what science does, though. That's what scientists do. Philosophers do. It's like you're looking at your environment and you're saying, how does this work? How can we understand the environment? You're taking it and you're breaking it apart until it makes sense to you.
The thing is, where I'm getting with that is that you always break it down to these two things.
Well, the end result is one thing, but for our reality or our interaction with reality, it's two things.
But that one thing breaks into two things that break into more things that
an infinite amount of things. Yeah,
exactly. Okay. And when you break it down to two things, people are easy to grasp that, to learn what that is, because it's just two things. That's hard to keep up with. But I don't think reality is that simple. It's not this light and matter part, this energy and matter part, or whatever your theory is. I don't think it's that. I think it's way more complicated than that. But it's easy for our feeble brains to grasp its complexity by breaking it down to two simple things, when it's actually this amalgamation of multiple things. I mean, a cake isn't its individual ingredients. It's the cake, The cake isn't just the eggs. It isn't just the flour, or it isn't just the frosting. Mm-hmm. It is the collection of all these things. You can't just take one part out and be like, it's still a cake. It's not. It ceases to be a cake. So when we break things down to like gravity or the electromagnetic spectrum or the weak or strong force or all these things, these are just ingredients. They're not just the part or the most important part of anything. It needs to be together. And that's where I fall. Whenever I make a theory about, where we live and how we do anything, I look at it as, how do we react to it? How we interact with it? And is it consistent? And honestly, if you look at humanity and you look at how we interact with everything, it is varied. Some people have great reactions towards things. Some people have terrible reactions towards things, and some people don't have a reaction to anything. They are oblivious to anything that's happening. Sure. They're living their own little world, So, and then there's a variety of other people that are just random, Like, I think there are multiple categories, and to fix it to this one thing is good when you're trying to summarize or generalize of some type of generalizations. I mean, just look at how people have generalized about other people. Most people from Mexico eat a certain type of dish or have their own dishes. Like, that is a simple correlation. But
you don't like the process of trying to define reality, because you feel like,
I like the process of trying to define reality. I don't like the process of definitively deciding that this is true and will always be true,
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
To define reality is the hard part. Is where I fall into, like, you don't fucking know. You don't know. You have an idea.
I think that's what reality is, in the sense that we don't know, because reality is this ever evolving thing. It's this ever evolving process of energy, of whatever you want to call it.
It's a revolving door. We influence it, and then it influences us.
I mean, but if it's all us, then if you look at energy as all you, then it's all just this. I see.
That's a really cheap, like, spiritual little hackery you're pulling there. Don't you feel?
What?
Like we are all this. Like,
I think it's scientifically provable. So again, understanding.
So cheesy though.
It's
like,
not.
I gotta be honest.
It's so true. It's so true, because when you look, and that's where my book begins, which is to say that when you look at reality, when you look at all this stuff that makes up what we are, it is all multidimensional. It is made of many aspects. Just like what you were saying with the cake, when you have a cake full of ingredients and you take an ingredient out, then the cake is no longer the cake, right? Well, that's where the book starts, which is that if you have something that is whole and you're defining it, or you have something that is like this environment, reality, whatever you want to call it, and we're defining it, and we are defining it based upon our observations. So we're saying this is that, this is measurable. So we're defining our reality, and one of the ways that we define our reality is the fact that it has multiple aspects to it. It has multiple ways of observing it. We can measure all this stuff in multiple ways, and that is implicit in the fact that I can observe and interact with this stuff in multiple ways, meaning that I can see color, I can see light, I can touch it, I can taste it, I have these different senses. All those things are multiple or dynamic ways of interacting with my environment. So that, that being said, we can start with comprehending our reality, recognizing that reality is multidimensional or multifaceted. Correct? Like reality obviously is dynamic, right? There is multiple layers to it.
In the grand big picture of it, of course it is.
Not in the grand big picture. In every observation, it is multifaceted.
I don't know what that means.
Meaning that there is a dynamic way, or a more than one way of observing or measuring your environment. And for us, for the scientific way of looking at it, it means that everything is at least more than 2 dimensions, or 2 dimensions or more. Because for us observing it, it's at least 3 dimensions, meaning that everything that we measure, everything that we observe, even a thought inside your head, is multidimensional. It has multiple aspects to it. It is dynamic.
Yeah, okay.
So you begin with that, and then you say, okay, we work our way backwards. Just like when you have a number that we've created, like the number 4. The number 4 exists because it's made up of certain parts. Just like your cake example. The cake exists because it has certain parts in it. And the cake would not exist, or it would be something else, if it didn't have those ingredients in it. So in the same way, we can observe and understand that anything we observe, for sure, has at least one dimension, and a dimension being one way of observing it, or one way of measuring it. And so that's where science needs to begin. That's where philosophy, and that's where the contemplation of our reality needs to begin, is with trying to understand the first dimension. And that's why I say that, to wrap it or bring it back to the original point, which you said is, okay, how does it all begin with 1? Well, it begins with 1 because when you begin the process of research and trying to understand what one-dimensional, or what one dimension is, or what a one-dimensional object or observation could be, the end conclusion that I've come to, and that I think anyone who does enough thought experiments or physical experiments will come to the awareness that one-dimensional has no restriction, it has no boundaries, so it must include all things. And then you come to the idea of, okay, if the first dimension is everything, if it's all energy, then how do you get from that place, from this dynamic, or from this undynamic, this undefinable first dimension, or undefinable first energy, whatever you want to call it, singularity, how do you get from there, which is in everything that we observe, if you follow that thought process, how do we get from there to here? How do we get from this one-dimensional expression to where we're at now, which is multi-dimensional expression? And that's the journey that I discuss in this book, but also that's the journey I think that every scientist and every philosopher should be going through, which is trying to understand that journey or trying to understand that process. But that, in my mind, answers that question of, okay, it doesn't necessarily just begin or just reality isn't simply this polarity. More correct would be to say that reality is one, or reality is this undefinable presence of everything. And in some way, we are traversing from that expression or that reality or that whatever it is to where we're at now, where we're able to define stuff.
But isn't that convenient though?
No, I just explained it. It's not convenient. It's scientific. I just literally explained it through the scientific process.
Scientists don't think linearly. They don't.
That's exactly how they think. What are you talking about?
Most things are linear. The progression of how evolution works, that is very linear. Okay. Obviously, yeah, that's, they started as fucking microbacteria to multi-cell to ocean animal to land animal to fucking walking on 2 feet.
Okay.
But the thing is that chemistry doesn't work so easily. Sometimes things arise in odd patterns. Like things get influenced.
I don't disagree with that. But what I was articulating is something else. You're not refuting what I was articulating. You're just bringing up a different topic.
Okay, so what you said was that we're a singularity, and that's in everything, right?
I'm saying that the root of our reality, the root of any measurement, is one-dimensional. And understanding what one-dimensional is.
Okay, just stop right there.
Yeah.
One-dimensional.
One measure.
Yeah. One-dimensional, one measure, we should just call it measure. Because dimension makes me think that there's this invisible force that takes place in some other universe or some other part in our reality that isn't ours.
Okay.
Because as soon as it's not based on reality, I can't keep up with it. I can't. Yeah. Like, it's such
a dimension
another...
just means a measure.
The thing is that if you call it a dimension, it's not a measure anymore. Because a measure makes me think of a ruler.
Right.
A ruler, it's obviously a measure. It's a metric. It's something you can see. You can call it something, you know? But
but that's the difficulty.
The singularity and then becoming something, it's just... I just don't like that story. I don't like that story. I like not knowing that story.
What do you mean?
Because the not knowing that story gives so much more freedom to everything else. To letting it be whatever it needs to be. It's kind of like that Schrodinger equation where the cat might be alive, the cat might be dead. But if you don't check, you will never find out. So it'll never really be dead or never be really alive.
But that's not wrong at all. But that is what our reality is. And that's a polarity. And that's a polarity of on-off.
Live ended.
Whoa, how come it ended?
The polarity, that's just the part of the polarity. I don't want to argue that you're wrong. I just haven't heard enough people really agree with that theory. And by that matter alone, I feel like you're jumping to conclusions on how things take place. And in that way, maybe you're just making a neat way in which to describe this idea, which is your story, which is your theory. But I also think that you're not considering all the implications of reality, and you're also not considering the fact that there could not be a one dimension. It could all had come out all together.
But there is one dimension because there is multiple dimensions. Does that not make sense to you? That's the whole principle of, if there is something, then there is something. Meaning that if I have this cup, that if there is the whole cup, then there's also this little green part, right? If there is three dimensions, then for sure there's one dimension, right? You can't have three dimensions and not one dimension.
You're trying to use the process of, from one there's two, and from two there's three, and from three there's four. There's an easy way in which to catalog and illustrate a progression of something. The thing is that we're highly embedded with this idea that things happen in progressions from small to big. We are inherently designed to believe that.
So how could it be otherwise then? How could you're saying that maybe
it's just so simple. It's just so simple that I can't fully agree with it. I think it's more magical than that. I think it's just so much more broad and undescribable that you nor I can really grasp it, you know? Like to really know what it is, that it's nothing and then there's something. That whole process, it's just magic.
But there wasn't
really
nothing.
Is magic. Because as soon as you're like, well, single cell to multi-cell makes more sense. It stops being magical there. That's where I'm not on the magic part. I know how single cells operate. Like you as a single organism, you in the middle of an island or in the desert don't function that well. You will die for sure. You won't have substance. But you, as an individual in a city with supplies and other humans to interact with, you are a healthy organism that will grow, which becomes a multi-cell organism, right? You're in this bubble of a city, interacting with it, exchanging things, making the process flourish. It's an ecosystem in a way. But when you go from the desert to a city, I think it's just so complicated reaching that point, you know. And I think just to say that you were nothing and then how you became something.
That's not what I'm saying, but I appreciate that thought. But that's not what I've said. That is nothing and something. It's actually the opposite. It's that you were both something and nothing. You were the totality
isn't that
of
convenient?
Everything. No,
it's like,
it's
I
accurate.
can't be
That's
right. I can't be right if I am nothing. I can't be right if I am something. How about I combine those two, because those are the only two possible solutions, and then be right? Because I'm no longer wrong, nor am I completely right. I am a bipartisan solution.
I guess it would make, I'd be more perplexed, or I would be continuing my search for something else as far as the interpretation of reality if it didn't fit every single criteria for how the universe works. It describes energy. It describes gravity. It describes emotions.
Because it's
it describes
not right,
thought.
or is it wrong?
It describes love. No, I'm saying, but it works perfectly. But it does, dude. It does. And it works so perfectly that it's like the block that fits into the little kids game where it's like you're trying all these shapes and then it just fits in perfect and you're like, that's it. That it can't not be anything else because it fits so perfectly.
But don't you think that's convenient?
Absolutely. It's perfectly convenient. And not nobody, but seemingly no one has arrived at a total conclusion until this point.
couldn't there already be somebody that decided that, and then they were like, yeah, it can't be that, because the guy that said, oh, it's a wave and a particle at the same time,
disagrees with that.
It disagrees with that.
This agrees with that.
Exactly.
That agrees with my theory.
Exactly. So that, how many people have taken him seriously? Like, people can equate that.
Everybody. The reason why we have cell phone technology is in part because of him. The reason why we've built Hadron Colliders, the reason why we're able to put satellites into space, and the reason why we have missile technology is because of people like Schrodinger and people like Hertz and people like...
So what is so new about your theory then? If it's already been thought of and they're already...
It hasn't been. It's been thought of in different ways, but it hasn't come together in totality because... Let's see, why... So Newtonian physics is an understanding, a mathematical understanding or comprehension of how more of the macro universe moves. And quantum physics is an understanding of how the more micro aspect of our reality works. But what they don't understand is how those two can interact or how they can conflate those two ideas. So that's where science is struggling. And the reason why they're struggling is because they've divided their forces of nature into four main categories, which is the gravity, the strong nuclear force, the weak nuclear force, and electromagnetism. But all of these are the exact same. That is what's different, is that they're looking at these different pictures, they're looking at these different forces, and they're imagining them to be somehow separate from each other. But they're not. They're all the same, and they're all ways of the forces, all ways that energy expresses itself, either outbound or inbound. And this equation that I've developed and this book will show that not only on the macro scale does gravity affect planets and you and I in a certain way, but it affects energy on the micro scale, on the atomic scale, in the exact same way. And there is no such thing as strong force or weak force.
But they've proven that, though.
No, they have not.
Whatever that fucking thing is called, the Hadron Collider.
What do you think they've proven? Proven
Proved
what?
that there is a strong force, there is a weak force, there is gravity, and the electromagnetic spectrum. There's actually four.
That's what I said. Gravity, electromagnetic spectrum, strong and weak force. Those four categories. That's what I said.
Okay, so you're saying incorrect. You're saying that they're all one thing.
What I'm saying is that what they're observing is correct. So the observations, their experiments are correct, but the what's the right word? Attribution, or what they're attributing to that experiment is incorrect. Meaning, so when they see energy in the nucleus interacting in a certain way and they call it the strong force, that's incorrect. That is gravity interacting at that particular level. When they see energy interacting a little bit further out to where it has the ability to expand outwards, they think of that as the weak force. And I'm giving very loose general summaries of this, but they consider that to be the weak force, and that's incorrect. That is another way in which gravity is expressing itself. Electromagnetism, another way in which energy, or in which electromagnetism, light, substance, is moving through space. That's all gravity. Gravity, in its most broad interpretation, is the way in which energy moves outwards or inwards. And this equation expresses and shows how energy is relatable on both the macro and micro scale. So you no longer, once this equation comes out and is verified, you'll no longer need the terminology of weak force or strong force. You will still have the idea of electromagnetism, because that is referring to the substance itself. And then you'll have gravity. And gravity is the way in which the substance moves. So those aren't really forces. They'll be recognized both as gravity as the way in which the electromagnetic substance moves. So it won't be electromagnetic force. It'll just be one force, gravity, and then it'll be referring to electromagnetic fields or electromagnetic substance.
Right.
I hypothesize, of course.
Yeah, that is a hypothesis. I keep telling you things that are what I've heard, and I'm not a scientist, so I can't speak of this.
But why do you say that, though? You are a scientist. Why do you think you're not a scientist?
See, that's another reason why.
What classifies you to be a scientist?
You're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, dude. When it comes to that, like master or specialist and all that.
Do you think you need someone else to come over and tell you you're a scientist? Do you think?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Why?
Because
you need a piece of paper. You need to take a class
for validation for people to take you seriously. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
No, for you to take you seriously. That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about anybody else to call you a scientist.
I'm not a scientist, and I don't claim to be a scientist.
What do you think a scientist is? What makes a scientist?
A scientist that is someone that studied the fundamental parts of physics and chemistry and all the different branches of science.
What about What about a science teacher at a school? Is she a scientist?
No, she's a teacher.
You don't think she's a scientist? She's doing scientific experiments. She's in the classroom teaching kids science. She's not a scientist?
Not a real scientist. Not like a scientist that fucking works at the Large Hadron Collider. Not like that.
Well, that's a different classification of scientists.
Exactly.
Would you not agree that there are different classifications of scientists?
So you think you're the lowest level of a scientist there is?
Slowest level?
Yeah, you gotta be the lowest level. You've never gotten any level of degree in science.
I don't need a degree. You don't need a degree to observe.
That is your disillusion.
Why would you need a degree?
Because that shows you all the real elements that it takes to become a scientist.
According to whom?
So, by what I'm observing from you, or what I'm taking from you, is that you don't require a college diploma to be a scientist. You can just claim that you are.
I'm saying
what I'm saying is how people that are psychics get around, or people that are anything that they claim to be without proving it at all.
There's different levels of scientific aptitude. That being said, a child that gets a starter microscopic kit and has an ant or some spit or whatever, and he's observing it under the microscope, he's a scientist. That child is a scientist.
Okay.
And would you not agree?
Okay. If that's what you really want to believe, then go ahead.
That's what I'm trying to understand for you.
Feel good that you are a scientist and you can claim to be a scientist, even not having any level of degree in it. Great.
At what point? Okay, explain to me. At what point do you become a scientist?
At one point?
Yeah, what point? So
at least when you get your degree.
What degree? High school, college, master's, doctorate?
At least.
College, meaning associates? 2 years?
Sure.
Okay, so I can go to the community college right now and take a couple of science courses, read some books, pass the tests, get my associate's degree, and that makes me a scientist?
Sure.
That's what you would argue?
Sure.
That, to me, that is the most ridiculous requirement to be a scientist. That does not make you a scientist. That means you know how to look at information and repeat it and write it back down on a piece of paper.
But the thing is that
I can
claim to be a scientist and know that you, for a fact, are wrong. How about that? If I am also a scientist and you are a scientist and I disagree with your hypothesis, I can discredit you completely, right? Or no?
According to you, yeah.
Okay, then you're wrong. They just accept that your theory is wrong in my perception of it.
Absolutely.
I don't have any evidence. Seems like you don't have any evidence.
I have tons of evidence, and I've given it already.
You don't have any peer review studies that have been approved to be true. So that is the biggest factor alone.
You like verification from outside sources for some reason.
Why do you
trust other people's opinions over your own?
The coronavirus is a very real thing.
Okay.
Those things were verified by other scientists, and you could see it in the world. Your shit is describing the world. Okay. There's no way in which to, like, okay, because the sky is blue and you predicted it was going to be blue, then you're right. No. You're describing elements about reality that you can't experiment with. I can give observations and we can you can't go into the singularity level and see that, oh yeah, there's that singularity he was talking about, then he must be right. There's no way in which to prove that your hypothesis is true. But what type of study can you make that will prove undeniably that you're right?
Interestingly enough, there's nothing that can be proven undeniably. There's nothing.
Wait.
Anything.
Nothing. The coronavirus, is that not something that can literally be proven correct?
So there is the concept of reality. You're getting it.
There is the corona again.
You're getting into an area where when you dive into the comprehension of our observations, because everything is an observation, yes? Correct?
Not everything.
What's not an observation?
Certain things that require high levels of machines to recognize that something took place.
You just said recognize. That's an observation.
No, it isn't. It's a measurement.
A measurement is an observation.
No, it isn't.
How is that not an observation? Something had to do the measuring. That's an observation.
It is a reaction.
And a reaction is an observation. Observation means when something is interacting, when something is somehow moving. You can't have any sort of existence without observation.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Observation meaning interaction. You have to have observation. So reality begins with observation, meaning interaction. So if you follow the law of, or was it the uncertainty principle? What is that guy's name? Heinrich's uncertainty principle. So there's a principle. I can't remember the dude who came up with it, but it's do you know the guy's name? No. So, all right. So have you heard of that though? The uncertainty principle?
Sure.
Have you or not?
Yes.
Okay. So there's the uncertainty principle, which states, and this is mathematically proven, that according to scientific data that we have performed as a community, when you're looking at an atomic scale, and our reality is made up of atomic energy. It's made up of atomic matter. So that means that any measurement, any observation, any interaction we have, whether it be the coronavirus or whether it be you and me holding this cup or anything else, any interaction, even the thoughts inside your head, are all based upon energy, meaning that atomic energy or atoms, and those atoms have energy in them. And so when they've observed this energy, they have recognized this principle called the uncertainty principle, meaning that as they record or as they try to measure this energy, the more precise the measurement of any specific energy, they cannot track, or they can track less and less its ability to move. And the greater ability that they can track the movement of that energy, the less they're able to track the actual locale or the actual energy source itself. So in that statement, that shows that we cannot authentically, precisely prove both the location and the movement of energy, of anything. So what does that mean? What is, in the grand scheme, what does that mean? That means that we cannot accurately prove any sort of, both at the same time, movement of energy and the position of that energy. So we can either more precisely measure its position or more precisely measure its movement. And that's self-evident when we think about if we're recording something or if we're observing something. If you look at a racer and you're filming him and you see him running and you slow it down, if you slow it down, you're either going to see a frame by frame and you're going to be able to see exactly where he's at, or if you let it play, you'll be able to see the position of his movement. You'll be able to see the playing out of where he's at. But you can't see both at the same time. But our reality is both at the same time. It is substance. It is made up of real stuff, that single frame or that precise stuff, precise atomic energy, but it's also movement. It's also the transition of that substance from wherever it is to its next location. So understanding that principle of uncertainty means that nothing that we document or nothing that we observe can be said to be authentically accurate to 100%. We can come pretty close. I can say that I'm holding this cup and it's green and it's silver and it's gold, and what you're doing is you are describing the whole of it based upon its general locale and its general movement. But to the degree of its 100% accuracy of both locale and movement, not authentic. Meaning that this is not proof that this is here right now. It's proof in general that it's here, but it's not proof to 100%. So that's stating or arguing that if you want to get down to the semantics of, okay, you can't 100% prove your theory or 100% prove your ideas, that goes for everything. That goes for any idea, any topic, and it's mathematically shown and accepted by science.
That is in the dimension of the subatomic particles, bro.
And that is what makes up our reality.
It doesn't make up that cup, dude.
Absolutely. What are you talking about, bro?
Subatomic particles, the particles that make up that isn't it.
It's atomic energy.
The totality of all those particles that makes that. And when you pick it up, it is 100% true that you pick that up and you have it in your hands. That is the shared reality we need to accept. That's where I lose you.
But it's the general acceptance of what is happening. But it is not authentic.
Let me stop you right there, because what does that mean? The general understanding that you were holding that cup, that means that, okay, you don't want to believe 100% that you're holding that cup, but you will believe 99.9% that you're holding that cup. So you got to leave room for possibility that you could not be holding that cup. So by that measure, you could not be holding that cup. And you want to have that freedom. So by that example alone, you could be 99.9% true on your theory, but there could be that small percentage that you're wrong.
Absolutely.
So I could just argue that you're not completely right.
That's 100% true.
You already know that you're not completely right.
Absolutely no. Of course, I've agreed with this, which is that my theory is, or my hypothesis is, the best that I've developed and I've come to understand or believe, and I think it will be the most developed and best that anyone has come to thus far. Because
why
again,
do you want to challenge the beliefs that there are today?
Because we as a society and me as an individual are seeking and questing truth. We are in the search.
But why that? Why don't you find a better truth for the reality of something else? Like, why don't you join the Red Cross and actually save lives? Why choose this? Like, why do people need to know this? Like, I think, does it really change that much? Does it change everything that much? Because it doesn't seem like it does. It doesn't make better iPhones, does it?
It's going to be able to eventually, at some point in the near future, be able to take light, take solar energy, take electromagnetic waves, and compress them not only into pure electricity, but also we'll be able to develop machines that will be able to atomic print, meaning you'll be able to compress solar energy and electromagnetic energy into atomic structures. So the 3D printers that you see now are going to be replaced by atomic printers. And so the individuals that can afford it and the individuals...
Atomic printers, bro?
Yes,
atom printers. That's all you need. Atomic printers would take forever. Atom printers already takes forever. Why would you need atomic ones? Like, why do you skip? You go to the extremes all the time. Like, I don't
you're not
understand.
Following. You're from
if I'm somebody that's willing to accept everything that sounds cool, your shit sounds cool. But because I'm
by
your
atomic
friend,
printers, I'm not saying you have a canister like on the side of this machine and that canister is filled of some sort of mysterious substance and then it suddenly just prints the item or whatever. No, what I'm saying is that everything that exists is made up of electromagnetic waves or source energy. And as that energy moves, it expands, and we see that in the form of light or electromagnetic waves.
So what?
And so by understanding how this hypothesis and how this theory can interact and be implemented into our lives, one way in which we can see that is through atomic printing, meaning that we can compress,
But you're 99% sure about that.
Absolutely.
But that small percentage that you could be wrong.
But why? But you asked me why would I want to share this rather than go do the Red Cross or something else like that? This is why, because this has the ability to provide everybody with cheaper energy, clean energy, and also eventually be able to provide people with
How though? By understanding that nothing is 100% sure, that everything's an observation, that everything is a part of the singularity. How? It's a hypothesis.
It's a hypothesis and a theory now, but as science agrees and concurs on the maths of this theory.
What math? There's no numbers in there.
Yes, there is.
The closest thing to a number is probably 1 and a 0. Something and nothing. Where, how are you going to be like, oh, well, add this equation to like this quantum computer and then it'll solve all our issues. But I'm not here to want to prove you wrong. Is that you haven't sold me on anything. Until you have a legitimate scientist agree with anything you said, I am 100% skeptical of this actually taking place. But that's because
you're not thinking for yourself. You all want to hear someone else's opinion.
Because I don't find that I'm a reliable source to disagree or agree with anything you say.
That's fair.
You know? Like, how do you take anybody's word for truth if you don't know yourself? You shouldn't take any of their words as truth until then you find out that it's true. Like the coronavirus. How do you define out something's true? The coronavirus, we didn't know it was true. It hasn't really gotten to the point where it's affected me directly until now. Now I know it's true. Now it's real. It's happening everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. How is it that you are so confident that you're 100% true that this is that it's gonna play out how you want it to?
I'm not 100% sure that it's gonna play out the way I want it to, but I am very confident in the mathematics in it and in the totality of the theory because, again, it fits and it fulfills all the discovery or all the questions that I have for trying to understand our reality and trying to understand some of the questions that both science and philosophy and religion have.
It seems like every time we have a podcast, it somehow careens down this direction. Like you have some outrageous belief that I do not hold or
What about you? What ideas do you have?
What ideas do I have?
In regards to reality?
Feeble monkeys that think we know and we can recognize patterns, and by recognizing these patterns we can assess that there is some degree of predictive perception of reality that simply keeps changing over time, that every time we make a truth or a claim that this is how reality works, it evaluates itself and it changes. Times are always changing. The closest thing to what I can illustrate to be reality is the consciousness, the ebb and flow of positive and negative aspects happening to you, making you think that you know anything. It's like you don't know anything. That is the closest thing to knowing or believing, or getting an idea of what I really believe. I don't think we know anything.
What does knowledge mean for you?
And it means that you should take it with a grain of salt, to not believe it in its totality.
That's what knowledge means for you? To I don't understand that. Can you explain that in more detail? What is knowledge for you?
What is knowledge to me?
Yeah, what's knowledge?
Knowledge is to not take everything with skepticism, especially things that claim to be true.
You're talking about an attitude, though. That's not knowledge. I'm talking about knowledge itself. You're talking about the way in which you interpret knowledge.
Summarize knowledge, dude. Are you talking about communication?
You're the one.
Are you talking about science? Are you talking about nature? Are you talking about the universe? What are you talking about?
I'm trying to understand the way.
Knowledge? I am aware that there is a level of possibility.
Okay,
and there's a level of not possibility. And the level of your theory falls deep down the
We're not talking about my theory. I'm talking about your comprehension. I asked, what do you believe, or how do you see the world?
I think we're really here. I think we're really
okay, hold on.
I think there is corona.
Hold on. You said that, to wrap up your perception of reality, that you know nothing. And then I asked you, okay, if you know nothing, what is knowledge? That's what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to say, okay, if your whole concept of what reality is I know nothing, it's the Socratic method. It's the belief that, okay, I don't know anything. I have no idea what's going on. That's great. Now I want to know, what do you think knowledge is? If you know nothing, then that means whatever knowledge is for you, you don't understand it, or you don't know it. So I'm trying to define the terms that you are using. So you've said you know nothing. I appreciate that very much. What does that mean now? So now I'm asking, what is knowledge for you in regards to that, in whatever way in which you want to express that? What is knowledge? In any way, whether it be science or life or breathing or snot bubbles or whatever.
It is real.
Knowledge is real. So
it's a shared reality.
So at the end of the day, you're just saying you don't know any of this stuff. You have no idea what's going on.
Not really, dude. Just like you said, you don't know 100% of anything. You don't know your theory to be 100% true. To argue your theory to anybody is not smart, because then...
Let me ask you this then. What do you believe? Or so if you start with, okay, I know nothing, then how do you progress from there? How can you proceed from that point?
What I mean about you don't know nothing is that you're making assumptions about reality. It's specific. When I speak, we don't know anything. It's specific to your theory, because you're speaking so
But we're talking about
eloquent.
Your ideas, not my theory.
How is it that it's my idea?
Because I asked you, because the whole thing is, my theory was my theory, and that's how I see the world. That's how I interpret the world. So now I'm saying, how do you interpret the world? Not how do you interpret the world according to my theory.
The audience listening to us must be like, oh my God, they're getting in a fight right now. Like, for reals on this podcast. Like, he's trying to disprove his little theory about singularity and everything. Meanwhile, he wants to disagree with that and somehow prove something he doesn't know. And now he's being questioned about what he really believes. Okay, this must be good. I don't know what I really believe. I can't summarize all the things that are what I truly believe. Like, everything is happening. That's as close as I can say. Everything is happening. I don't know where it's going. I don't know exactly what I believe. I don't know if this coronavirus is going to kill me. I don't know. Everything is to be determined. It seems like it's not something that is true. It seems like when you get in the debate of reality, it comes down to the beholder. It's like however you perceive it is what it's true. And when you speak to me as like, this is how it actually works, it feels like you're trying to indoctrinate me to be like, oh my God, that's fucking true, dude. Holy shit.
I'm just
Everything
expressing
is an observation. So how do we really know if it's fucking true? It's simply just us nudging shit down. How do we know that the scientists wrote the fucking assessment correctly from the whatever thing? It's like they could have gotten something wrong. There should be some level of error. Of course there is. Of course there could be a possibility that you're right. Could be a possibility that you're wrong. It could be not true in like 100 years from now. There could be a whole new truth.
For sure.
The thing is that we shouldn't hold ourselves too seriously. It's like when I disagree with your idea, I'm not disagreeing with you as like forget about your idea and just move on. Believe in it as much as you want. It's just that I think we need to do things more quietly.
What do you mean?
I think, like, if you were...
like, go to your room and don't talk to me.
I think if you really believed in your idea, I wouldn't be spreading that idea around. You know?
Why?
Because it's your idea.
But if
you should hold that.
But if you found a vaccine for corona, wouldn't you want to spread that around? Because it can help
different.
People? Why?
That's not a hypothesis. That is very real.
They don't have a vaccine, so the idea for a vaccine is real.
How do you know that you have the vaccine then? Not until you know for certainty that you have the vaccine. Do you go and start spreading the vaccine? You do not spread the vaccine.
For me, it is real, and for me,
that's the problem.
For me, the problem of life or the issue of life, if that's a disease or if the quest for knowledge or truth is a disease, then this theory has cured it. So for me, I'm cured in that regard. So now I'm looking to other people and not trying to press upon them in any regard or in any way at all. I'm just simply saying, hey, this is some information that I've discovered. This could help you.
But the thing is that you cured yourself.
Yeah.
It's like anybody that believes in Jesus, that believes that he's going to save you. He's going to cure you. I've been cured by Jesus. You could just simply do that. That's like you're making your own religion in a way.
Well, for some people,
saying that
for some people that works, but this is also scientific. That's the difference. This is also mathematical and scientifically proven. Then
you're dumbing it down to the point where
that's the best form of science.
You've accepted a version of science that has proven you right. Therefore, you feel like everyone should be right in your way.
No, I'm just using the normal standards of practice and proving it mathematically.
Why hasn't more people agreed with you then?
Because I haven't expressed it or shared it with more people. You and only certain people. But once this book comes out, people will be able to agree or disagree with it. And I think the general scientific community will agree with it. It will become very agreed.
Till that day, I don't think you speak about it. You shouldn't, especially not on my podcast. You fucking idiot.
Why?
Because it's dumb. It's dumb. Because nobody can wrap their heads around it. It's so fucking complicated. It seems like you gotta just take your word for it. Trust me, bro. It's true,
I don't understand how you're not able to follow the scientific comprehension of measurement. Like that to me is so simple. The understanding that things are multidimensional, meaning multifaceted. There's 3 dimensions, therefore they have to have 1 dimension. Seek out and try to understand what 1 dimension is. That seems so simple.
That's what I'm saying.
How is that difficult to understand?
Because it's bullshit.
But
it's
why?
Not verifiable.
It's verifiable for the fact that we both agree upon it right now. That's 100% verifiable.
Okay, let me go down your fucking rabbit hole right here. Okay? I'm gonna please you like never before.
That sounds weird.
100% right with your theory. Can we move on now?
Sure, if you want to. I mean,
theory that observation. Of course, everything's observed, bro. What are you gonna touch the knob and be like, yeah, it's about 8. It's 8. Yeah. I feel it.
I just don't. It seems like you're getting lost, but I don't understand how you're getting lost. That's why I'm confused.
The thing is,
it just doesn't make sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me is how you're not following this. How you're not following basic observation, the understanding of understanding that something that is multidimensional.
You just claimed
or multifaceted.
You just claimed that something is not 100% true, and then you claimed that your theory is 100% true.
I never claimed that. No, replay the tape. Never claimed that.
Okay, 99% true.
No. I mean, I did say that, but also, this is accurate to me. I have proven this mathematically, emotionally, and thoughtfully to me.
You agree that there could be completely wrong.
Absolutely.
So why do you argue it then?
I'm not arguing it at all. I'm just expressing.
You're arguing that the observation part is just so simple. It makes so logical sense. Why? I don't understand why you're getting lost there. Like, because it's bullshit from the gate.
That's what I'm saying. What about it is bullshit? Do we not agree upon these basic understandings of how reality works? If you follow, it's like saying, okay, we're walking up a set of stairs, and I say you got to walk up this step, this step, this step, this step, and you walk in, and you're actually able to walk up the stairs with me, and then we're at the top of the stairs, and you look down, and you're like, that was bullshit. How do we walk up the stairs? That was bullshit. And like, bro, we just walked up the stairs.
When it comes to imaginary things, I can't follow you. You're going down some crazy fucking rabbit holes. It's not linear. It's not something like a stepping. It's not like you actually took me to an actual physical place where I went up the stairs.
Of course not. It's a thought experiment.
Of course it is. And that's the problem with it.
But where are you getting lost?
Because, look, I'm getting lost is the whole theory is based on what? What is the number one thing that your theory is based on?
Understanding the first dimension.
That alone. Dimensions.
You're getting caught up in the word, huh?
Dimensions.
Measurement.
It's not reality. Not reality.
Is this reality? Is this multidimensional?
Okay, so you're talking about reality.
Yes.
So, dimension, replace it with reality.
Dimension, replace it with measurement, observation.
Okay. So you're saying, because you can see things, and that's how we learned all the things we know, by seeing them, and the things that we see can't be measured. And because we can't measure those things accurately, it must be a measurement and a non-measurement at the same time.
You're confusing yourself. All I'm saying is follow the simple step of observing anything in your environment and recognizing that it is multidimensional, meaning that there's at least 3 dimensions to it. I would say that you could follow that. Anybody can. You can look at something and say...
Okay, let's say I did follow it.
Okay.
So what?
So something is multidimensional, recognizing that everything that we observe that is multidimensional also for sure has at least 1 dimension.
Okay. So I'm going to break this down, because you keep repeating yourself over and over again, and I just don't like the story. I don't like how it plays off.
But is it not logical?
Not to me.
How is it not
because I don't
logical?
like it.
That's what I'm confused about for you, or for our communication, is how is that not logical?
Because you use the logic as like, if it's not this, it must be this.
No. I never said that. I said follow the logic of how something is constructed.
No. Yes, you did use that. Because I said when they make measurements, they use machines to come up with those measurements. And then you use your sight, observation for those measurements.
Okay.
So that alone shows that there is a specific thing that's happening. It's not 100%, but it's true. So observation is true. Is observation true?
Observation is a thing. It's an aspect. It's not necessarily truth.
So it's not accurate.
No, it's not 100% accurate. Not at all.
Okay.
For sure not.
So the simplest thing you want to bestow upon me is that everything is an observation.
No, the simplest thing would be that everything is one. Everything at least has one way of observing it. Because you're thinking anything that you are observing, you are for sure at least observing it, meaning that there's one measurement. If you were to look at dimension and say dimension is the same thing, if you were to take that term and equate that to measurement or observation, because if you look up in the dictionary, you can see that dimension is something that you measure, whether it be conceptual or physical. So science likes to specifically stick to the physical, but nevertheless, a dimension is something that you can measure. And the way in which we measure is through observation. So any sort of observation, any sort of measurement, any sort of thing in your environment that has dimensionality, I would argue has one dimension at least.
Okay.
Would that be something that you can follow to at least that point?
Sure.
So that's where this hypothesis begins. The big leap comes from that understanding, the understanding that everything has one dimension, to saying, okay, what is the first dimension?
It just doesn't serve me. It doesn't make me feel good about me, I guess. It just doesn't, okay, everything's an observation. Okay.
Yeah, you don't see how it's useful.
I don't see the useful. I see things because, all the time.
You got to get to the meat of it, but you start there, and then hopefully you progress towards, once you understand certain principles that come out of that observation or out of that understanding, then we can better interpret or better interact. Oh shit, my phone just died. Then we can better interpret or better interact with our environment. We can live lives that are more full or more healthy or more whatever we choose. Because if you understand, it's like, okay, like when you're a child, right? And you didn't know how to...
Don't tell me a story. Don't give me examples like that, because this is imaginary. Everything is observation. So okay,
so I have this cup. If I don't know how to move this cup, how am I going to move that cup?
That's not possible.
What do you mean? When you're a child, you don't know how to pick up things. You don't.
Of course not, because you don't have the ability to harness your hands.
No, you don't have the ability to know how to move things. You don't even know how to pick up something.
You gotta understand your body to then move things.
Exactly. And so when you understand the universe...
This is becoming very difficult for me. This has become...
When you understand...
The last hour, I've been debating you on your theory being fucking stupid. And
we can switch topics if you want to.
This has become very difficult for me to switch topics, because you keep making me feel stupid by telling me, I don't understand how you don't understand that we all observe things. And by that factor alone, it's a measurement. And that measurement shouldn't be relied upon. It's like...
Well, I'm sorry.
I can't.
I made you feel that way. I don't mean to make you feel that way.
I don't apologize. And it was making me be the bad guy. I'm not trying to be the bad guy towards you or be the bad guys in general. I'm not trying to discredit you. But also, it doesn't seem to be any substance in this conversation. By the fact that you have a certain belief that observation, that's it, you know? And then it goes on to this other thing. I can't wrap my head around that. I can't.
That's fine.
I can't do it. It's like believing in aliens. It's like, it's cool, but I can't. I don't know how they look or they go with, or it's just like...
Right.
It's a lot. It's a lot, man. It's just... You're just gonna get me in a position where, like, okay... And I agree with you, and then you still go on and tell me more about your theory. It's like...
Well, that's why I tried to switch it over to, okay, what do you think? Or, what do you want to talk about? What do you like? What UFC fights have you watched lately?
No.
What's the differences between America and Mexico? What do you think are the big differences?
See, like, now you're coming up with just something to talk about.
Well, what do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about...
I don't give a fuck. What time is it? How long has it been?
Yeah, we should just end it there. Thanks, guys. Sorry we argued the whole time, and I could not understand anything he was saying because he's an idiot. But I like him because he's my best friend, and he's my roommate, and we're quarantined, so might as well make a podcast. But he has a very interesting theory that I 100% disagree on. But if you want to check it out, he has his own website. What's your website?
The website is thoughtmasters.com. It's THOTH master.com. So sorry, not Thought Masters, but Thought Master. So THOTHMASTER.com. And the book is going to be out June 18th. I don't know when you're posting this, but the book is called Being Conscious, A Theory of Everything. And it is a theory of everything.
All right, there you had it, guys. So check out his website, and you can get filled in with all of his theories. I, being his roommate and his closest friend, I don't agree with him. Doesn't mean you can agree with him. You can hop on there and you can figure it all out. I myself have other theories, I guess. But thanks, man. I appreciate being on the show. Boom.
All right, now let's talk about your theories.
What theories? I don't have global world theories. I think that we're all stupid individuals that pretend like we know a couple things and then spread that, and then people pick that up, and I mean, at one point we believe in fucking Thor being the god.
Yeah, right. This is like good out footage. Like as we're doing, you just mute it and we just wave our hands around, and then there's like you roll the credits.
Sure.
And then no.
You and your theories, Grant.
What do you want to talk about? Something else?
I ran out of beer. I ran out of coffee.
like, I don't have all the things that let me tolerate you.
Let me tolerate you. I have none of them. I gotta get high again because clearly this fucking sucks.
How long has it been?
It's been what,
2 hours and 13. That's about good. That is
good. Like let's fucking end that. That was terrible, dude. We did a terrible job with that.
I thought that was great. You didn't like it?
No, I didn't like that one at all.
Why? Because you got upset?
It's all about your theory. It's like, and I debate your theory all the time. Like, why? Why do I even debate your theory? You're trying to write a book about this theory. It's not like you're gonna hear something that's so new from me that you're gonna be, oh yeah, I should just quit on the whole book thing. It's like not a good theory after all, so might as well do something else. It's like you're so down the deep end that there's no way. You indoctrinated yourself into this theory where, like,
I mean,
couldn't be even if you go out and speak with scientists and they disagree with you, you probably won't stop.
Because they won't disagree with me. Get a scientist on here, dude. Let's talk about that.
No, you go and speak to a scientist. I'm not gonna spread your theory around.
I'm just saying.
I disagree with your theory.
Disproven.
Huh?
It's not gonna be disproven.
There's no way of proving it or unproving it. It's
It'll be
all
proven when
a theory and can't be nothing more than a theory because there's no peer reviews that you can do about this. It's not like we can make an alternative reality, test that out with different elements and see if observation is the most way in which to understand reality. There's no way into finding new ways on how to disprove or prove that it is the best way. I don't know what is it that is your theory about observation being that it's not conclusive, so therefore we gotta find a better way to find conclusive ways into which to measure our reality. It's like, what? Why? You're better as a rapper. You just stick with rapping. You're good at that. You rap your shit. You make music. You make beats. Stick with that. This whole theory and science status is like, don't waste your time with that. That's just like a waste of time. You're better as a rapper. You do way better things as a rapper. Stick with that. I don't understand.
That's fair. Oh, no.